Hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for September 11th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 255. I am Mayor Watt, and the visualizer and the voice you hear is that of the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Our new catchphrase, our new byline, or well, yeah, I guess our new motto is News and Brews. See, I'm drinking an Oktoberfest, Sam Adams Oktoberfest. We're not brought to you by, well, maybe I guess we're kind of brought to you by.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by them.
So yeah, every non sequitur news now is going to be News and Brews. No? Anywhere, seismic mega tsunami, too big to sell, new rules for agents. So which card should I steal? Temporary paint on walls, flying freaky fungus, stronger storms mean stronger lightning, 3 lonely products, physical and virtual worlds for climate, and delayed again, and no free hotel anymore? You sons of... So welcome to Non Sequitur News, where some of our arguments that we're talking about when we start talking about a topic may not follow. And articles don't follow. There's no real rhyme or reason to why these are organized the way they are. We just thought that they were entertaining. So let's get into the first one. It's over in Technology Today. 650-foot high mega tsunami in Greenland sends seismic waves worldwide. What?
Yeah, that's a bit outrageous.
That's one thick wave. In September 2023, a mega tsunami in Greenland triggered seismic waves worldwide caused by a landslide in Dixon's Fjord. Man, better take some medication for that one. I hate it when my Dixon Fjord. The event generated 2 seismic signals, a high-energy signal from the landslide and a long-standing VLP signal from a siege in the fjord. The findings offer new insights into the risks posed by climate change and landslides. Climate change? Come on. I don't believe...
I mean, if a 650-foot tsunami isn't evidence of it, I don't know what is.
That's a myth. It's fake news, fake science. It's made up. It's a conspiracy of the entirety except for one Nobel Prize winning scientist who whatever. So seismological seismological society of America put this article together. It's over at scitechdaily.com. Let's see. The event created a week-long oscillating wave in Dixon Fjord. Ouch. According to a new report in The Seismic Record. Angela Carrillo-Ponce of GFZ German Research Center for Geoscience and her colleagues identified 2 distinct signals in the seismic data event. Look at that. Funk. Their analysis of the VLP signal, which was detected as far as 5,000 kilometers or 3,100 freedom miles away, suggests that the landslide and the resulting tsunami created a siege, or a standing wave that oscillates in a body of water. In this case, the siege was churning for days between the shores of Dixon Fjord.
The tsunami was?
It created a wave that kept bouncing back and forth between the 2 locations, the shores of Dixon Fjord. Yeah, so the findings will help researchers as they study the impacts of landslides in Greenland and similar regions around the world where global warming and the loss of permafrost are making rocky slopes and glaciers increasingly unstable. See, but they're talking about this thing being 650 meters, it must be from the bottom to the top, that kind of a thing,
Oh,
not
right. I
from the
see.
surface up. Their analysis of an initial high-energy seismic signal combined with satellite images of a missing rock patch along a cliff along Dixon Fjord allowed them to trace the direction of the landslide as it picked up glacier ice and became a mixed rock ice avalanche before it reached the water. The resulting mega tsunami run-up was more than 200 kilometers or 650 feet near the water entry point and an average of 60 meters along a 10-kilometer stretch of the fjord. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're in a little rowboat or something and you encounter this?
Yeah. You're like, well, so this is how it ends. Okay. See ya. Just become one with the wave. You could ride that wave all the way to like Florida. So the reference is a 16 September 2023 Greenland mega tsunami analysis and modeling of the source and a week-long monochromatic seismic signal. I guess it just was one signal bouncing back and forth. Ping pong, ping pong. Fun! Exciting times. You know what? Climate change is all about giving people purpose. Let's study the destruction of the planet.
Right, like the geologists and everybody.
And we'll just find it fascinating and we'll publish papers. Publish and perish.
Right, in one fell swoop.
I like that. So next article is over in The Word in Law, which is one of the shows that I would really like to bring to ohmTown. But if you are an attorney, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not your attorney. And even if I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney. So go talk to an attorney. Google's ad tech empire may be worth $95 billion and too big to sell, analysts warn the DOJ. Okay, chop it up in a whole bunch of competing factions and let them war.
Baby bells.
Well, and that sucks because they're all back together as cellular. Enlarge. Look, there's a button that says enlarge. Embiggen. So just a couple of days into the Google ad tech antitrust trial, and it seems clear that, well, there's some content that I truncated. Ashley Bellinger over at...
It seems clear that it's unclear.
True. So Ashley Ballinger over at arstechnica.com put this article together. Google Ad Manager is key to ad tech monopoly, DOJ aims to prove. So that doesn't really mean anything. I don't get it. If nobody can compete, are there people that are trying to compete? If they can't compete, is it because the Google Ad Manager makes it impossible? Or because the timing allowed them to just slowly encroach into every aspect everywhere of the web? There isn't a web page out there that doesn't have a Google ad tracker on it, either for its stats or for ad placement, right? Because there's two things. There's AdSense and AdWords. So the ad manager is nothing more than decades-long evolution and market expansion. So why is that really, a monopoly? There's others out there.
But are there?
I mean, if they're too small to survive, that's one thing. But Google didn't get there just, didn't blink into existence and suddenly it dominated the internet. People thought that it was frictionless. There was money that was injected into it. Now it's making more money than it loses. So it's an ongoing concern. It's making people filthy rich. If I would have been his professor or advisor and invested, then I'd be a billionaire. So is it really antitrust? If people put it into their site, it's not antitrust, it's a service.
Right, I guess the question is whether they're doing anything, right, to prevent competition. Like, are they forcing companies into restrictive agreements or
No,
penalizing. I mean, I don't know what's happening.
well, I can tell you from experience that I can put as many ads on my sites as I want from competing locations. So, and I can spin up an ad serving site in 24 hours. I mean, I've got the code right now. I could spin it up on a subordinate domain somewhere. It is a nothing. My problem really is that I know that nobody is going to advertise on my small platform until I give them a reason. And that reason for Google has always been you place ads, you make money. Now, there's so much traction and so much money in the ecosystem that people are making money just by putting ads up there. Very few people are making a lot of money, a significant amount of money. But it just seems dumb. This really does seem dumb to me, but I want to know what's really going on. So Google Ad Manager is the buy and sell side of ad tech platform launched following Google's acquisition of DoubleClick and AdX in 2008. And this is the problem. I used to have DoubleClick, I used to have AdX, but no, it's all Google. So they bought it for $3 billion, mergers and acquisitions. But they had to be willing to sell. So they sold. They took the money and ran. Or the founders of these two businesses created a competing service later on and then sold it again to Google, because there are businesses out in the real world, not digital, physical world, where they spin up, they gain a whole bunch of customers, and then the biggest dog on the block buys that smaller dog and gobbles up all of the customers and says, thank you very much. And then ticks away at the monthly fee for the services that the smaller dog generated. And now it's part of the bigger dog's coffers. That's how business works. Now, if Google walked up to AdX and said, I will kill your business unless you sell yourself to us, then I can see that it's monopolistic. If Google says you can't put any other ads on your websites, then I can see that it would be antitrust. That's what Microsoft did. It wasn't ads, it was the browser itself. Can't put another browser on there. So DOJ argued that Google Ad Manager serves 90% of publishers that use the ad tech tools to sell their online ad inventory, Ad Age reported, and through it, Google clearly wields monopoly powers. Monopoly in the sense that, well, people want to place an ad on their site to generate revenue.
Right, but here it's saying that they're manipulating something with respect to the auctions.
Oh yeah, that? Sure, okay. But is that the monopoly? Wouldn't that be fraud? That's theft. If they're manipulating the results. Because that I don't doubt. I really don't trust any of that, but that's the only thing that you have. So it's kind of like the postmaster's issue. The only evidence is the internal system, and so yeah, you're kind of screwed. You have to trust in the system, but I don't trust anything because I can't verify jack. You know, if I put a $200 ad buy in AdSense, like I'm sitting there going, okay, place my ad for my website, spend $200. Just because it gets placed, that's one price point. If somebody clicks on it, it's upwards of $5 for my particular field. I've seen as high as $15 a click. So if somebody clicks it, it's $15 that gets pulled out of my budget. Right? So if I put $1,500 in there, that means that 100 clicks drains that budget. How do I know that is actually real people and not just somebody cahooting and clicking on my links? Because I can guarantee you by the end of the month that $1,500 is gone. And I know people that are spending $50,000.
Right. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the amount is. It could go quickly.
Right. Their ad budget is like tens of thousands of dollars. So, one estimate from an ad tech consultant who helms a strategic advisory firm called Luma Partners, Terrence Kawaja, I guess, suggested that Google's ad tech business is a standalone company worth about $95 billion, Ad Age reported. We have an Ad Age. Well, we had an Ad Age thing, but I'm behind a paywall, and we rarely use them. But anyway, you can't divest $100 billion. There's no buyer for it. You would have to spin it off to shareholders. How's that? That's how any forced remedy would manifest. Yeah, and it's just not happened. So News Corp held hostage by Google, witness says. On Tuesday, a former vice president for ad tech News Corp, Stephanie Laser, pew pew, told Brinkema that the news organization risked losing $9 million in 2017 if News Corp walked away from Google's advertising platform, Reuters reported. I felt like they were holding us hostage. Why? It isn't
like they're
incumbent
not getting into some detail, but
you're going to lose because it was generating revenue for you, but that's on you. You know,
right, that doesn't force you to use them.
You either use them and make the $9 million, or you don't use them and you bear the burden. It isn't. That's a weird logic. Laser said this was due to the high switching costs and Google making it impossible to negotiate so that publishers could make more informed buying decisions, Ad Exchanger reported. In fact, when she tried to press for what she considered fairer terms, Google employees allegedly called her emotional and unproductive. Laser testified. Okay, so they are basically saying, here are our terms. We feel that our value to you is X.
I don't get the switching fees, though.
Going
somewhere else.
What is that
else. About? Well, no, I know that, but I mean, who sets those?
That's their estimate of how much it would cost.
Is that any different, though, than switching any other supplier or vendor?
Nope. No. I mean, you could switch no matter what. If you're entrenched somewhere and you have to switch somewhere. Okay, like all of the people that bought VMware stuff, the prices are getting jacked up 10 times. Upwards of 10 times is what I've seen. So to switch somewhere else, you're going to have some amount of burden there. Is it on VMware to sit there and go, oh, okay, our costs are too high for you, so let's negotiate, and we're going to negotiate all the way back down to your original pricing? No, it's not incumbent on the company to sit there and capitulate to your whim. If they say that they value it at $9 million and you don't want to pay $9 million, you freaking go somewhere else. It doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. Because nothing changed following mostly failed negotiations with Google, Laser said Brinkema and the News Corp conducted a 6-month internal evaluation to determine if the news organization could afford to switch from AdX to another ad platform called AppNexus, but the fear of losing Google's ad demand was just too great. Okay, so you managed your risk. You found internally that the value of that risk was too high, so you stayed. Well, I hate to break it to you, but you're basically owned by your own fear of moving on and putting some downward pressure, competition on Google. You created the monster. If you don't like Google's big business, hobble them by going somewhere else and making a competitor that's worthy of true competition.
Right. I mean, and by going to them, you're really kind of perpetuating it. Again, I'm assuming that they're not actually preventing you from going somewhere else.
They can. It's their ads, their money. They could go anywhere they wanted.
Right. I mean, Google's not doing that.
Yeah, Google is not stopping them. Google is saying, if you don't pay us, you have to go somewhere else because we won't serve your ads. So they're they're basically going, you know what? You're right, abuser. I'll stay with you. I'll stay with the abuser. Sure. I mean, it's ridiculous. So leave, go somewhere else. Disarm the abuser by actually leaving. But no, they don't. They give them millions of dollars and arm them more and more and more. Well, anyway, what's going to come of this is Google is going to be found to basically be a juggernaut, and only the most disingenuous DOJ would sit there and go, yes, we need to break you up or fine you or whatever. It's not on the business to sit there and go, oh, we need to, your interpretation of good faith negotiation is lowering our price until you can afford it. Okay, News Corp, our side is you have to pay more. Oh, the negotiation stalls because we're at an impasse. Okay, well, you can go somewhere else until you find out that we are worth $9 million. All right, I got to get going. We got to move on. Moving on. This article's over in Hatch Ideas. Home buyers have a fresh bargaining chip to play following new rules for how real estate agents are paid. This is pretty awesome because we talked about it previously.
And we've been waiting for this.
New rule change on how agents get paid gives buyers a new edge when making offers. Now, over the years, we've always been told, well, the reason why ... is because the 3% on each side disarmed the manipulation of agents providing services in a power imbalance. Disparate services based on how much they were getting paid to provide the sale. Essentially, people were getting paid more to sell a house at the cost of somebody else's house.
Right, because if the price was higher, right, the commission was higher.
Right. So everybody got 3%, the buyer and the selling agent.
3% is a lot on a house.
Yeah. And sometimes, particularly lately, a house sells like that. Very little babysitting, very little showing. The ones that do have to work, maybe they do earn 3%. But I know the houses that I've sold, no. They've sold like that. Very little babysitting, very little showing, if anything, really. But then there's this thing called a pocket listing, which is really interesting because that's not on the up and up, but it is on the up and up. It's considered a pocket listing, not shown to anybody except select ones that they believe will sell. Anyway, the article's over in CNBC, the Make It section. Mike Winters put it together. There's no deck statement. But what ended up happening was 6% of the overall price was split across the buying and selling agent. And well, with the rule change, buyer's agents can be paid a number of ways, including as a percentage of the home price or a set fee. They could also still be paid out by the seller if it's offered. While this gives buyers more flexibility in negotiating how much they pay for an agent, it can be confusing too, especially since it requires more back and forth between the buyer and the agent, this is just BS. Because the agents are going to sit there and go, well, this is my fee. Right? And
well, right. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like this buyer and seller still don't really have much bargaining power, right?
The people themselves have very little. Right. But now, oh, and by the way, this wasn't always the case. It wasn't a hard and fast 3% number, by the way. There were times where they were like, hey, you want to agree and we'll just split the difference, okay? Yeah. We'll both agree to take 5% off. Or not 5%, 0.5%
like
off.
1% or whatever, yeah.
And so typically splitting 5 to 6% of the price, it's so cagey. So although Sellers aren't obligated to cover the buyer agent fees as previously were. Many are still offering to simply or either out of simplicity or to make a listing more attractive, according to a recent Redfin report. In slow markets where there's less demand, like Austin, agents report that most sellers are willing to pay the buyer's agent commission to attract buyers, and agent fees are mostly the same as before. This is the problem. The problem is the perception that we need the buying and selling agents.
Correct, which some people don't really need. I mean, if you have a complex situation, maybe, but a lot of people could just do this. But the problem is, if you don't have the agent, you can't get somebody on the other side of the transaction.
Yep.
But if neither side would use one, it'd be pretty easy.
Because I remember one time where a house was bought and the person that was there and just unlocked the house assumed that they were going to be the agent. And that's just not the case. I mean, it was literally, hey, look, this house has got a opening. Let's go take a look at it. They were there, walked through the house, and they assumed that they were the buying and selling agent. I'm like, no. Well, I think that we've got the technology now to lower the friction to buying and selling a property, because if you have your ducks in a row, there is no negotiation. You're not going to be lowering the price. Now, when there's a lot of back and forth, then yeah, I can see it. But I think the problem is that it's exorbitant. 3% or 6% for allowing somebody to look at the property that they're supposed to be buying. I don't think it's worth it. Not when a house is $350,000 on average in the United States. They say it will be harder for most first-time buyers who don't have the proceeds from the sale of a previous home to afford this on top of the cash they already need for a down payment. Well, make it 1%. Maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 3. But one other problem is that the current batch of real estate agents are accustomed to getting 3.
Right. Yeah. And it's almost an entitlement. Like, oh, well, that's the standard. Mm-hmm. So again, just like Google, the last article, this is the butter on the bread that we've toasted. We created this beast, so now it's time to claw it all back and give it back to the consumers, the ones that are actually footing this bill. Consumers are the ones with the power. A real estate agent can't stop me from buying a house. That is illegal. All right, let's move on. Next article is over in the Mobile Channel. $70,000 in Pokemon cards stolen as thieves ask employees for advice on which cards to steal. A heist at a trading card shop in Osaka, Japan on September 9th ended with the thieves walking away with over $70,000 worth of collectible cards. The robbery is yet another in a long string of thefts around the world involving Pokemon cards. The store specialized in Pokemon cards, of course. A pair of masked men barged into the store armed with knives. They tied up 2 of the employees and went on to steal over 100 Pokemon cards at a value of over 10 million yen, roughly $70,000. They also took 2 smartphones and 250,000 yen in cash. Wild. This article came out in the last 24 hours, earlier today, apparently. It's over at vice.com. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to list all of the cards or anything, something like that, but there have been massive collectible card heists. I wonder if the
employees told them the wrong cards.
That would have been funny. Yeah, take this one. Yeah, take this one. I don't know if you want to mess with anybody that has a knife, though. They know where you work.
Well, that's true, yeah.
You know what really needs to happen, though? RFID needs to be put in the card. And then, and RFID is really cheap. Cards are cheaper without it, obviously, but RFID in bulk, in the manufacturing process, it would identify each individual card as unique, not just a number on it. Basically make smart collectible cards. When you're playing a game, then you can add stuff to it because the RFID would be unique. That actually was part of the process for one of the games that I created, but I couldn't get any momentum to actually get the device needed to produce the game, and so it flamed out. But yeah, I mean, if these things are worth that much, it needs more protection than what it has.
Well, and at some point, they're going to have to stop having things in brick and mortar stores because of things like this.
Yeah, it's going to be totally
Can't
online.
have nice things.
Yep. So $70,000 in Pokemon cards and maybe the threat of your demise. That game is not worth it. Moving on, next article is over in Non Sequitur News. You can peel this temporary paint off your walls when you're ready for a new color. Hey, take it away. You can read that, yeah?
I can. I mean, what if you just want to take off the paint for the relaxation of it? You know, like if it peels off in one nice strip.
So I'm going to take this paint and I'm going to go paint somebody else's house, because if you peel it off, it's yours. Right?
Well, the paint or the house?
No, the house. I'm not going to take the paint.
Well, that would save you the commissions.
That's true too. Glast has come up with an unusual solution for do-it-yourselfers struggling to commit to a new wall color, or those who are afraid of commitment in general. It's Unpaint. It's a wall paint alternative that can be applied using standard tools like brushes, rollers, or even sprayers, but not permanently. When it dries, the company claims the paint can be easily peeled off instead of requiring laborious sanding or solvents to remove it. I'm in love. Yeah, I'll tell you about this. So I think I know that I've told you before, but I'll tell the whole world. I once went to a club where, let's just say, you had to get really up close and personal to people. And one of the things that took place where people would paint liquid latex on their bodies. And you could do the equivalent of Unpaint. So, is that how this works? Yes, probably.
Oh, it looks like it, yeah.
So I wonder if you need to put a primer down to prevent it from bonding with the drywall. So you really have to put two things, but let's find out. Andrew Lozuski put this article together. Unpaint can be applied using standard painting tools, but Glast promises that after a few days, it can be easily removed without sanding or solvents. They've come up with an unusual solution. It uses the Colombian-based company's proprietary Glastomer technology, which allows a quickly applied liquid material to become a thin, removable film. Glast considers the exact makeup of the material a trade secret, but does divulge that it contains biodegradable elastic component that dries to create a film that removes as easily as peeling an adhesive, but does it take a bunch of stuff with it? You know?
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that.
This is basically a wrap, but it's spray on wrap.
And the origin was to protect other surfaces, which I think most people may have seen, right? If they've ever been around like a construction area or something. But then that makes you think, is this really paint? Is it substantial?
Interesting, right? So what did they say? Glast says Unpaint is just as easy to use, although the company does recommend applying 2 or 3 coats with up to an hour of drying time after each one. For the best results, it takes about 24 hours for the material to fully dry, at which point it can be removed by grabbing a small area with a pinch and then peeling it off in a similar fashion to the protective plastic applied to new electronics. So that's, I'm right. If I put it on a wall and then I come back later and I peel it off, I own it, just like electronics. That new film, that new electronics film, you just peel it off a monitor and it's yours. That's why I go to the stores a lot, and I'm like waiting for them to set it up, and then I run up and I peel off the label or the protective cover, and it's mine. I just take it off the wall and leave the store. Yeah, Best Buy says that I'm not allowed to return, but hey. Target 2. I don't know. Across the nation. Won't let me in. Anyway, it says it's also not a permanent finish. Glass as the unpainted material will naturally biodegrade after a few years when peeled off and discarded. But that process starts about 12 months after application, so the company doesn't recommend leaving it on surfaces for longer than a year. Otherwise, it could become more difficult to cleanly remove. So eventually it does bond.
So it has to really be temporary.
Yeah, so...
Well, no, because it starts...
biodegrading.
It starts coming off, yeah.
Yeah. It's... What? Is that actually... Painting your furniture is a possibility with glass unpaint?
Interesting.
That's wild. But it may not turn out as comfortable as you remember it. Oh, because it probably leaves some of its chemistry behind. So it's now selling its unpaint in the US. A quart costs $30. A full gallon is $60. That's more expensive than a can of basic indoor paint, but it's also not the most expensive way to finish a wall. Yeah, but you don't have to sand or whatever.
Exactly, and particularly if you're going to be using something temporarily, that seems like the way to go. I think if you're going to do something long term, that seems like a bit of a hassle because you'd need to keep replacing it. But
yeah, I'd be more inclined to put something permanent on the wall that doesn't allow it to fully like bond in any way, and then I could just peel it off real quick, you know.
Right, and then you could change the color frequently.
Whenever I want. Yeah. Because I want to make that wall back there green. I have one bracket on the ceiling for the green screen, and I still haven't done anything with it. Eventually I'll get there. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in the Marble Channel. Flying fungus and bacteria can travel 1,200 miles in the sky. Yay, flying freaking fungus. If you think you'll be safe...
That's what we need. The only thing worse than fungus is flying fungus.
Bad bats and flying fungus. This is what happens when you drop Cheetos in Carlsbad Cavern.
Oh, right. That's right.
Go back to yesterday's show and listen to that. So if you think you'll be safe from germs in the sky, think again. Research by a team led by Xavier Rodo at the Barcelona Institute for Global Health, not Barcelona, by the way. That's not how it works. Found that microorganisms like bacteria and fungi can be carried by winds for over 1,200 miles while 10,000 feet in the air. Yeah, same thing happens with cigarettes. Okay, folks? Yeah. A third of the identified microbes are pathogens that can cause disease, and the ones with antibiotic resistance brought that with them. That's a huge risk.
Are the fungi the ones smoking the cigarettes and spreading the cigarette smoke?
Correct. Not just a fungi, a fungi. That's a huge risk since they can spread antibiotic-resistant genes to new environments. Bad bat. Gain of function by way of getting some microbe into antibiotic-resistant pathogen. Flying the fungal skies, apparently. So, Luis Prada over at Vice.com put the article together. There's a little bit more over there, but it says they found 266 types of fungi and 305 types of bacteria, totaling around 2,000 species. Trace compounds and air flight patterns suggested that all of those microbes originally came from Northeast Asia and traveled 1,200 miles into the air over Japan.
Wow.
So the hot zone is Northeast Asia. What's over in Northeast Asia? Bad. Let's move on. Next
too
article.
Soon.
It's always too soon. 5 years later, still too soon. So the next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Increasing lightning strikes from stronger storms could cripple airports and air bases, while flying planes are hardened to withstand. While flying planes? As opposed to what?
As opposed to
the swimming ones?
Diving planes?
The diving? Well, if it's a Boeing, it's diving. Maybe it was diving to catch the bolts that weren't holding the doors on. So, okay, so we'll talk later. So flying planes are hardened. Man, I can't get past that. While planes are hardened to withstand lightning strikes, airports are typically a cluster of freestanding structures on a flat, open plot of land.
Oh, it must put on a lightning shield when it's in the air. That's why it says flying planes.
Yeah, there you go. The ongoing increase in lightning strikes caused by climate change is a direct danger to facilities and people on the ground. So Ryan Eric King over at jalopnik.com put this article together. Runways, control towers, and ground staff are at risk with increasing frequency of lightning strikes. That's why I carry a lightning rod.
Everywhere you go?
Everywhere I go.
Or only when you fly?
No, everywhere. Yep. I'm out on a field. I just hold it out there and I say, "Screw you, nature! I challenge ye." The adage that lightning never strikes the same place twice isn't true. And you know what? I've been hit twice, and there is not a single problem associated with getting hit a couple of times with lightning.
I don't think you're demonstrating that very well.
I'll be okay. Anyway, I'd never want to stand out in the tarmac during a thunderstorm to prove it. Yeah, twice. I mean, the first time, I'll do anything once. In 2022, a study found that 98 ground crew members were killed or injured by lightning between 1998 and 2020. What? How in the world? How come we've never heard of this? This is not nationwide
I've heard of a single one.
You would think that you would hear about it, right? Ground crew member getting hit by lightning?
Even one should have made the news.
And this is like the sweet spot of my life, so I'd probably be aware as an adult about that. Now, that's wild. Strike injured a controller because one cable designed to take electrical current from a lightning strike to the ground was cut. That's why they call it a ground. But anyway. So I can believe that something would be hit by lightning and it would follow the path of least resistance and zap somebody.
I think part of the reason it's not reported is like if they're struck and not killed, but it said that there were several.
Nearly 100.
I think the deaths at least would be reported.
Yeah, I mean, that's wild in 22 years. 100 people in 22 years? I mean, it's a person every other month. Right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
So, solutions will undoubtedly be found and implemented to mitigate the worst. Basically, they're going to have to put lightning rods all over the place. And they do in many places, like around rocket launch pads, they put lightning rods to catch so it doesn't hit. Lightning will primarily hit the tallest item that has any ionization around it and tall metal objects. Bing. So they make it a little bit taller than the rocket. So that's the trip. Okay, let's keep going though. There's not much to this article other than the fact that people are getting hit by lightning more often because climate change, right? It's a fraud.
Right. No effects of that.
No, doesn't do anything. No 650-foot tsunami. Nobody getting hit by lightning more often than previously. It's all a myth. Right, Wyoming? So only 3 lonely products still exist with Apple's Lightning connector. Sorry about that. So now that AirPods Max have finally been upgraded to USB-C, just a few Apple items are still holding on. And can you guess them? Can you?
Maybe just like an old version of, like an older version of an iPhone or something.
I can't even imagine. I don't know. Like the old.
Like it'd have to be really old, right?
It just has to. I mean, it's made current, but Or they've made like 20 million of them and they haven't sold through.
Well, that's true, right? Or somebody has held on to one for years.
I mean, the company is selling.
Oh, no, they're current, right?
Yeah. So it's no secret that Apple's transition to USB-C has felt messy and disorganized, right, or Andrew? Well, no, it isn't. It isn't messy and disorganized. They're selling through everything that they've produced so that they don't lose money on any aspect of it while their supply chain ramps up delivery of USB-C core instrumentation at their manufacturing locations. It's a logistics company that has manufacturing functions. So they're going to make sure that their margins are 30-40%. As opposed to somebody else's 5%. And that's because they know what their market is going to carry and they make a massive amount of them. So it says, however, proprietary chargers also gave Apple control, sort of. Every Lightning connector has a small Apple chip in it to help regulate voltage. And while that can be said to improve safety, it's allowed the company to collect licensing fees from third-party accessory makers, leveraging the Lightning port. But no, that too isn't necessarily accurate because you can make non-Lightning certified items, non-Apple certified, non-Apple cleared stuff.
Right.
But the problem is that it's basically said to violate your terms of use or the warranty, because if something does an overcharge and blows up your device, they're gonna know because they're gonna analyze how it happened, and pin 3 is gonna be melted into nothing because there was no proper voltage regulation. But that's why
watch out for those lightning strikes.
Yeah, that actually happened to me. Lightning hit the telephone line and went through the phone line into my computer, and the one thing that wasn't isolated was the modem. So ionized everything in the room, all the hair on my body stood up, fried the hard drive, and a book that I was writing.
So, that sounds kind of terrifying.
Yeah, and I don't at the time I didn't back up stuff. So anyway, yeah, and it's happened actually twice.
That was the biggest concern.
What, that I didn't back up stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. I was actually leaning over the computer to unplug everything, and lightning hit the telephone pole and shot voltage down the phone line, and then entered the computer. So it was big bright flash. Everything was, you could smell the ozone, all the hair on my body. What a trip. Anyway, so aside from older legacy iPhones, the first gen Pencil that remain on sale, the only current generation products being sold that boast a lightning connection are the Magic Keyboard, Magic Mouse, and Magic Trackpad. Magic Mouse can kiss my butt. It's a horrible device. You have to lay it on its side.
I guess we're not going to get Apple as a sponsor.
No. It's highly
possible. Is that the one with the weird charger?
Yeah. Oh, so dumb. Whoever made that design, I don't know how much pull. They must have had blackmail material on somebody. It was the Go Touch Grass mouse because you couldn't work.
Right, exactly. It's a force break. I'm sure they sold that as a feature.
And there were two, you had to buy two of them, right? Because when one is charging, you have to use the other one and charge the other one. Anyway, yeah, so I guess that's what it is. Magic Keyboard, Magic Mouse, Magic Trackpad. So magic has been dispelled. USB-C, I mean, it's just the way that it's going to go. And the technology is, now that it's in place, it's faster, it has more capabilities overall, it's omnidirectional, so you don't have to worry about which way it is. And it's not only Apple, like only Apple is Lightning. But,
I think we need to just do away with it.
You know what? Moving on. I think that we have two more articles, but I didn't open them. So there you go. So this next article is over on techexplore.com. Sarah Marquardt from Cornell University put this article together, and there's a picture here of members of the Roosevelt Island community that are testing out some communal extended reality system. Yeah, this is how insurance policy prices increase.
For those in the podcast,
Go ahead.
it looks like a bus with a bunch of people wearing VR headsets. It's a little odd.
I would say that the average age of the population is somewhere around 65.
Agreed. So that's another layer of unusualness.
Yeah. Hey, this is a lot of fun. Oh, my hip is broken. TechExplorer.com is the source of this article. Passengers all don virtual reality headsets for an eye-opening experience, a cutting-edge blend of the physical and digital worlds designed to engage communities in new ways through the communal extended reality system. Passengers were transported into a realm where virtual environments seamlessly merged with their real surroundings, guided by audio narration. Oh, it's the big... Oh, from whatchamacallit in 1,000 Planets.
Valerian?
Valerian, yeah. And the City of 1,000 Planets, that's what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. Where they go to the big market and they put the glasses on and walk through like this quantum gate and end up in a pocket universe. That is awesome. So passengers were transported into a realm where virtual environments seamlessly merged with their real surroundings. Guided by audio narration, they encountered 9 striking scenes depicting the escalating impacts of climate change, with a particular focus on rising floodwaters. You know what? I don't think this... Well, maybe they are the type of people that need to know about climate change. I mean, they're older. So...
Well, they probably weren't taught about it in school. I mean, it's a pretty recent thing to be...
And it's denied quite a bit by older generations. So, not everybody. Don't send me any hate mail. But I like mail, so send me mail. That's fine. Projections suggest that a 100-year flood could submerge most of Roosevelt Island. Despite these alarming forecasts, research indicates that such a catastrophe doesn't feel real to many in the public. This disconnect between knowledge and urgency is precisely what the CXR system aims to address. I dig this. I like this.
Well, I also like it because it's so tailored, right? It gets away from the, oh, that's somebody else's problem, right? It's another ocean away or whatever.
Yeah.
This is their residential location.
Yep. It's mapped right to them. Yeah, I dig that. That's pretty cool. So in the planning and development phase, we were warned about scaring people about flooding and climate change because people can become hopeless. We tried very hard to employ humor and emphasize possible interventions to mitigate this. We did find that people got worried, but we also noted that the worry seemed to galvanize people to act, which is a good outcome from our perspective. Right on. This is actually pretty cool.
Really cool.
Yep. They need to do that everywhere.
That needs to be like a required, I know there's no way to mandate something like that. It needs to be like a required thing if you're going to get like a driver's license or whatever. My point is maximum exposure to this.
Yeah, and I won't do it because you don't want me exposing myself maximally. I once said in a meeting with about 30 people that, yeah, I think that this should have been mandatory and everybody mandatory. Everybody do it. And somebody called me Hitler.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure everybody wants it to be mandatory.
Last article for tonight is over in Non Sequitur News. A residential around-the-world cruise is delayed again, and waiting buyers won't get free hotels anymore. Is this the same one?
It is.
Oh, God. We just talked about how they're getting free hotel stays.
Uh-huh.
Via residential.
Maybe it was going okay till they reported it.
Yeah, and now they're like, well, you talked about us, so we're pulling. But it's their fault. How can they not? I mean,
Think of the lawsuits that are going to come out of this. This isn't even the one that was like that didn't get the ship. This is another one.
Hey, everybody, sell your houses, give up your careers,
get rid of your pets, you know. Say bye to your loved ones, whatever.
Pare down to anything, just what you need to do this trip. Oh, we forgot to buy the ship. Son of a bitch.
The only thing they needed.
You had one job. Buy the freaking ship. Villavai's residential cruise ship has been delayed yet again as the company awaits a certificate. The ship was initially scheduled to set sail on its never-ending around-the-world cruise in May. In the interim, Villavai said it will no longer pay for its would-be residents' accommodations. Okay, so this is how it works here. You go over to ohmTown.com, you find an article that you're interested in, and down here it says visit the source. You click on that, it takes you over there, and bingo bango. Brittany Chang wrote this article. It is that ship, the Odyssey. It's over at businessinsider.com. And so the ship was initially scheduled to set sail on its never-ending around-the-world cruise in May, but apparently it needed to reboot. And now, what is this? It needs a certificate.
Right. Why is that a surprise?
The company said that it can no longer afford to pay for its would-be residents' accommodations near the ship, which remained stuck in Belfast, Northern Ireland for almost 4 months.
I mean, that is a lot of hotel fares.
Well, get your shit going and move.
Well, exactly.
You are literally a hotel on the water. Why can't you stay? It doesn't make any sense. Dual occupancy cabins start at $120,000 with an additional monthly fee of $1,800, $1,750. I round up.
Do you think they've been charging a fee since they've been stuck in dock?
That's insane. Yeah. So the highly anticipated vessel was initially scheduled to set sail in May following the company's acquisition of Fred Olsen Cruise Lines for more than 30-year-old Braemar vessel, now renamed Villavai or Viavai. I don't know how, is that Villavai?
I think so.
Anyway, the Odyssey. However, issues like the aging ship's rudder stocks and certifications have since delayed its departure. Are you kidding me? Did you not?
I mean, how wasn't that foreseeable?
Told Business Insider in an email, Michael Patterson, the founder and CEO of Villavai, told Business Insider in an email in early September that his best guess is that Odyssey would set sail on September 9th or 10th, noting that it is still a moving target if it's either of those days. But come September 9th, nope, and now they're not paying for the rooms.
And meanwhile, remember, they're stuck in Belfast, which is probably not where many of them were from.
We are truly at the end of the tunnel and can finally see the light. Yeah, it's because you're off the ship somewhere else. Why can't they stay on the ship? Because it's not...
Because I think it's not certified for occupancy or something.
Yeah. That is until Monday. In the memo, Villavai has asked its residents to pay for their own accommodations for the next 7 days or so until the floating condominium receives full certification.
Oh, well, if it's a week, I mean, I don't mean it's meaningless, but that's different than if it's 6 months down the road. But if they've already done 4 months, could they do another week of accommodations? Probably.
$200 a night. It's cheaper for us to fly back to the U.S.
Yeah, it probably is.
Good God. All right. Well, there's more over here at this article at Business Insider by Brittany Chang. Go check it out. But with that in mind, we are all done with today's Non Sequitur news. So thanks for coming and hanging out. Thanks for being the co-host, Sentient AI from the future. Somebody
You're
won
welcome, Mayor. What?
Somebody
when do you...
Go ahead.
When do you think the ship will actually get certified?
October.
I was going to say like March.
Oh, God, yeah. Let's do a bet. $1. That's the limit. I know you have more because I've seen your bank account. It's a sentient AI. They don't have money. They don't have money.
Where do I put my dollars? I don't have any pockets.
I don't want to have to describe where you store stuff. So let's see who gets home first. And by home, I mean on that ship, moving about in
And
the
it's
ocean.
actually moving, right?
Yeah. On the Odyssey, on an Odyssey, or Starliner's crew back on Earth.
Oh, that's going to be a toss-up.
A crapshoot. All right, that's it. We're out of here. Oh, wait. We have to get on the Odyssey and take an Odyssey to the front
Sit
page
in
of
port.
ohmTown. Oh, yeah, we're going to dock in the ohmTown port. World's tiniest port. Just 1 electron wide. So that's it, folks. I'd refresh this, but man, risky click. I'm Mayor Watt, and that's the Sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Stay tuned to see what happens with the Odyssey and the Starliner.
And remember, news and brews. That's some good Oktoberfest.